I'm not gonna lie. The events I'm about to describe are really hard for me to talk about. I've talked about them with Carl and Nick. That's helped me become a little more comfortable about sharing it here. I still remember how it felt when that thing took me over. The way it seeped into me was like being acupunctured by ice cold needles. Oh, yes, I can tell. You're filled with it, aren't you? That voice sounded so unnatural. What are you? I screamed. What did you do to me? Pete, what's wrong? My mom asked with concern. I felt my anger boil up to the surface. Every problem that had been bothering me came to the forefront of my mind. The first of which was the rage I now felt towards my parents. Not only that, but fear and panic as if I was on the brink of losing control. I tried to fucking tell you. I yelled at them, my throat hurting from how loud I was screaming. Pete, what are you talking about? My mom asked with concern. What's wrong? My body began contorting as Al's and Jim's had. Knowing what I meant now, my parents screamed my name. My vision started going red, both figuratively and literally. In that instance, all I could think about was how much I wanted to hurt Jerry. However, there was also a voice somewhere in the back of my mind trying to get me to stop. It's his fault this is happening to you, the voice said to me. He was nearby, and when he saw the look I gave him, his eyes grew huge. The feeling of what happened next was like being in a haze. I remember pinning Jerry to the ground and then wailing on him with my good arm. With my strength enhanced, each punch drew blood. It was terrifying, yet exhilarating. Peter, stop! My mom shrieked at me. Jerry stared up at me with terror-filled eyes. I could hear people running towards us as I raised my fist to deliver the killing blow. Sean tackled me off his brother, and I was met with a barrage of punches. They didn't hurt as much as they normally would. Still, they were doing some damage. I managed to shake Sean off and knock him back. I jumped on top of him and began returning the beating he gave me. All the while, Jerry was screaming his brother's name. I grabbed his neck, squeezing his throat. He clawed at my face as I was choking him. Some hands grabbed the back of my shirt, yanking me off of him. I cursed and fought against them. I didn't see who they were. I just wanted to beat them down. Then I did something I'll never stop regretting. One person tried to pull me away, and my hand shot out, grabbing their throat. I growled, squeezing it. Peter, I heard get choked out. My haze cleared, and I saw the person who I was strangling was my mom. I felt my blood run cold. I let her go, and she fell back. I looked around at everyone. They were horrified, and so was I. My dad helped my mom up. Both stared at me with sorrow. I didn't know what else to do other than run. My parents shouted for me, but I didn't listen. I burst out of the exit. A herd of returned saw me, letting out shrieks. They were on me like bees to pollen. I managed to shake them off and run deep into the woods. What did you make me do? I screamed at the thing in me. Nothing you never thought about doing. The voice was full of condescension and malice. No, I've never actually wanted to do that. How do I get you out? You can't. We'll be together forever. No! I screamed and began beating myself, desperate to get this thing out. It only mocked my efforts. What good will this do? Even if it did work, do you really think they'd ever want to see you again after what you did? "Shut up!" I yelled at it, banging my head on one of the trees. Tears of rage and regret were streaming down my face. All the noise I was making attracted predators. The returned were the least dangerous among them. It was hard to notice their exact shapes in the darkness. However, what I did see were their eyes and mouths. Some were human-shaped, while the others belonged to beings not meant for this world. It's pretty ironic whenever I think about it now. Before then, I thought I could handle anything alone. I thought if something pissed me off enough, all I would have to do is cut or shoot them down. At that moment, I got a serious reality check. I wasn't being brave or tough. Do you know what I was? A scared 14-year-old kid in that situation because he could never let his ego take a hit. Nothing more, nothing less. Those things lunged at me, and I tried fighting them off. It was futile. I felt them dig into me and thought it would be my end as I let out screams of pain and terror. Then the sound of several gunshots echoed throughout the forest. I could hear them hit their targets, making them scurry off. My vision was fading fast due to my blood loss. As it did, I felt it leave me. "Don't ever come back," I thought as it was leaving my body. It only let out an irritated growl in response before slithering away. "Hey, stay with me," a new, at the time, but now very familiar voice said to me. Everything went black. I woke up in the hospital several days later, covered in sweat. Bandages covered my wounds. My shot arm was in a sling. I glanced around, not seeing anyone in my room. The door creaked open, and my parents came in, carrying some bags in their hands and some pizza boxes. When they saw that I was awake, they dropped them and rushed over to me. "How long have I been out?" I asked them. "A couple days," my dad said. "We were really worried about you, Pete." "You were?" "Of course," my mom replied. "Why wouldn't we be?" "Because I'm sorry." "Don't worry about it. We know you weren't yourself." "How's Jerry and Sean?" "I hurt them pretty bad, right? Did I?" "They'll be all right," my dad informed me. "Just a little banged up. We talked with their parents, and they want to put all of this behind them as much as we do." That was something I could agree on 100%. I knew to prevent similar incidences from occurring again, my anger would need to be in check. It was then that I resolved to try my hardest not to let it get the better of me. "What's in those?" I asked, pointing to the bags. "Oh, yeah," my dad said, picking them up. "The Formagios were nice enough to give us some food on the house. It was in the box, so it should still be good. Sorry if it's a little lopsided now, though. Honestly, I was hungry enough to eat the pizza right off the floor. It was topped with beef, bell peppers, mushrooms, olives, onions, and pepperoni. To go with it, I had a bottle of root beer." "By the way," I said, "who was it that saved me?" "Oh, it was a guy who moved into the house in the woods a few months ago. We talked with him, and he seems nice. He's not much older than you are. We're going to be sending him a gift basket for what he did." "What's his name?" "Carl." To say I was lucky to have survived what happened to me would be a grave understatement. If it weren't for Carl, I would have ended up getting torn apart. They aren't the only ones I have to thank. I still don't understand how my parents put up with my behavior for so long. They were far more patient with me than I ever would have been. I did get counseling and took up healthier anger outlets. Kicking bags worked wonders to help me vent my frustrations. I'm on better terms with Jerry and Sean now. I wouldn't say we became best friends or anything like that. However, it was an upgrade from constantly getting into fights with them. I did grow curious as to why my fuse was short. I asked my parents about this. They told me a story from when I was only a toddler that may explain it. The events of it took place around Christmas, so I'll wait until it's around that time of year before I share it. Speaking of holidays, All Hallows Eve is going to be tomorrow as of my posting this. We'll be celebrating with beer and candy while marathoning scary movies. Well, Carl and Nick will be having the beer since I'm not really a drinker. Sweets, though, are something I can get behind. And also weed. Anyway, I hope you all have a very happy Halloween.